Everybody, this is Brothario, divorced single dad, now doing my part to make sure all the other guys out there do not fall into the same traps as many of us have that have come before. Today we're going to be reacting to a woman talking about the patriarchy and feminism. So first and foremost, let me say this. There is no such thing as a patriarchy in any Western culture. It just isn't. If there was a patriarchy in the Western culture, women would not have the ability to record themselves talking shit and posting it online for other women to then come in and agree with and continue to talk shit with everyone else. It just wouldn't happen. The fact that this exists means that there is no patriarchy, okay? As far as feminism, feminism is the biggest joke that has ever been played on women. Completely and utterly a giant grift and con that too many of them are too stupid enough to realize that it is. We are not equal. Men and women are not equal. We have differences. Some men are better at certain things and women are better at other certain things. That's just what it is. There is no equality. Get over it. All you are doing by believing in feminism is digging your own grave. You are going down a path of misery and self-destruction. And the ultimate goal of feminism is to stop women from reproducing, to end society. That is what feminism is all about. That is the truth. Get it through your fucking head. Now, let's see what this lady has to say.
I keep hearing feminists continuously make the claim that patriarchy protects men. And I would just like to know, what men? Like, you realize most men are not sitting in a cigar room picking out which rights people get today, right? Most men are being treated.
Correct. Like I said, patriarchy doesn't exist. The system that exists now is a matriarchy. Plain and simple. What a lot of people want to claim is the patriarchy is the system that has existed all throughout time of the haves and the have-nots. The people with the money and the power control all the people that actually keep everything running. If the people that kept everything running revolted against the people with the money and the power, things would change. But stupid people want to blame all men for all the problems when it's not all men. All men are going about their lives keeping society running. Plain and simple. Women don't go about their lives keeping society running. That is on the men. There is no patriarchy. It does not exist. We live in a matriarchy because everything is set up to benefit women in every way.
Treated like they're disposable, like they don't matter. Have you ever seen how feral women get whenever you try to bring, I don't know, awareness to the suicide rate? The average man is being...
Correct. I have said this in my previous videos. Men are treated as disposable, and it's the job as fathers to get their sons ready to understand how society treats us and how there is zero care for men's health, men's issues, anything. It is nothing. It is just suck it up, get back to work, give us what we want, and no one gives a shit about you. If you die, you will be replaced by the next schmuck up. That is the way the system is. No one cares.
Told to protect, provide, pay, perform, never cry, always be strong, solve everybody else's problems, but shut the fuck up about your own. If patriarchy really seeks to...
Exactly. It is all, what can you do for me? What have you done for me lately? As guys, that's always what it is. Oh, I appreciate what you do for me now. Well, guess what? In 5, 10 years or whatever, that's not going to be good enough for me, and I'm going to divorce your ass. That's the way it always is. What have you done for me lately? That is how guys go throughout time and go throughout society. It is just work yourselves to the bone, earn a little bit of money, provide for someone else, and get bitched at the entire time and be told to shut up. No one cares about what you think or feel. And going back to the suicide thing she was talking about, that is very much a bad problem that exists in society. And yes, it does affect males. And why does it affect males? Because of the same things I've just been saying. No one cares about them. We do actually have feelings and stuff as well. But unlike women, we do not allow our feelings to get in the way of making decisions. We look at facts and logics, but that does not mean that we do not also have those feelings, and those feelings can accrue and weight us down. When we go through life with zero appreciation and are just used as cattle to plow the fields and do whatever, and no thanks given whatsoever, it takes its toll on guys. And unfortunately, a lot of guys check themselves out of life way too early. That is a massive problem that we have in society, and it's something that definitely needs to be addressed. But you know how we don't address it? By yelling at everyone that it is the patriarchy causing this problem, because it fucking isn't. It's a lack of appreciation from society as a whole, and especially women, for everything that men do. Men do everything, and they also get blamed for everything even when they don't do it. That needs to stop.
Benefit men? Why are men the ones that are told to run towards danger? Why do men take up the majority of the workplace death rate, or the homeless rate, or the addiction rate, or the incarceration rate, or majority to be victims of violent crimes, or majority to be killed by the police, or majority to lose custody of their children? That doesn't sound like protect.
Yeah, exactly. All those things, because we have a matriarchal society that is to caters to and protects women, even though the women don't deserve it. Now, going on to the most likely to be killed by cops and most likely to be incarcerated, if you look at the statistics on that, that is a very specific demographic of people that they refuse to address because racism and all this shit. But it's a very specific demographic of people that commit most of the crimes. Why they commit most of those crimes? Because of democratic policies that have been put into place to keep these people in the position that they currently are in, because they don't want those people to break out of that system, because then they are worried about losing voters. They want to keep these people exactly where they are. So they keep voting the same way. They want these people to give people just free enough little handouts and incentivize them to keep that going that way, to then make sure they don't want to change. If all the handouts were to stop, then the people would want more. They would change their ways, and then they would progress farther than the party that wants them to stay where they are. That is a cultural problem pushed by a certain political party in the United States. That's just the truth of it.
That actually sounds like disposability. And I know what you women are going to say. Oh, it's because patriarchy hurts everybody. Yeah, that's kind of the fucking point. That's why they got rid of it so long ago. You do realize society's matriarchal, right? Like the government, politics.
Yes, society is matriarchal. Everything caters to women. Why? Because women are the fairer sex, which is bullshit. Women are conniving. They are vicious. They are underhanded. They will do whatever they need to do to maintain their position, their status, and their power, for lack of better terms here. They do not do anything that does not benefit them. You will have guys that will bend over backwards to do whatever it is that is asked of them by someone, just to be treated like shit, and is not to be said it is not good enough, yet some guys will still continue to doing it because they put everybody else ahead of themselves. Women will not do that. Women are only concerned about their position, their status, what benefits them, and what they're feeling at that any given time. That is it. There is no patriarchy. Everything is matriarchal here, and that is why society has suffered from it. There are 3 points in history for the United States to where society really, really, really went to shit. First and foremost being when the group of bankers met on Jekyll Island, the tiny hats, they got there and they decided that, hey, we want to take over the U.S. government, so therefore we're going to create a private bank, but we're going to name it something that sounds governmental, and we will call it the Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve was created by this bank, by these groups of bankers that then had a direct tie to the Treasury. So the bank, the private bank, would tell the Treasury, hey, we need this amount of money. The Treasury would print that money. It would go to the bank. That bank would then lend the money that was printed by the government out to the government itself, for the government to borrow that and then pay back interest to this private bank. This bank never actually had anything to fucking begin with. Yet it has been established, and that is how our whole monetary system is created upon. And in order to fund this bank, they decide that they're going to create the income tax. And they managed to get Woodrow Wilson in power, who said he would sign into law the income tax to fund this bank. So they rigged the election to get Woodrow Wilson elected to then sign into law the income tax to fund the private bank. And that is why we have our monetary system the way it is now. We don't have a system based on any sort of gold standard or anything tangible. It is a fiat system based on the strength of the economy, which is bullshit. Leading on to that point, the second worst thing that ever happened in this country was FDR, that crippled piece of shit that decided that he was not going to get out of office when he should have and stayed in for an extra term until he died in office. That asshole he didn't like the fact that up until he came into existence, the country had a balanced budget. The country could not borrow more than what it had in reserves. He didn't like that because he wanted all these bullshit free programs. So he took the country halfway off the gold standard and decided the country to then borrow up to 50% of what it had in reserves, to then pull all this fake money out of nowhere to get us into debt. That crippled piece of shit was the one that got us down this road of massive, massive debt and inflation. When Nixon came in, Nixon finally he fully got rid of the gold, any 50% gold standard stuff, and we went entirely to fiat currency. But it all started with FDR. That has put us where we are right now with this constant borrowing against nothing. The third biggest issue that has happened in this country regarding what has affected this country the worst is giving women the right to vote. Gasp! Any woman that comes across here and hears me saying that, excuse me, I don't care. It's the fucking truth. Women's suffrage was the third worst thing that ever happened in this country. And why is that? Because women don't do facts. They don't do logic. They only do emotion, and they only care about what benefits them. Since the women have been allowed to vote, they have voted and controlled and selected only people that cater to them to give them what they fucking want. They have taken over the Department of Education. They've taken over all schooling. They have rigged the court system in their favor to make sure if any sort of divorces happen, the women get everything handed to them, plain and simple. They should never have been allowed to vote to begin with. Also, when women were given the ability to vote, they also then changed the laws to where now women wouldn't need a co-signer on credit cards. And right as soon as that happened, the debt ratio, the amount of debt that people hold in this country has skyrocketed. You can look it up. Right as soon as women were able to get credit cards without being co-signed by a man, debt ballooned out of control. Because women can't control their spending. So you then have women, now they're voting, or vote for all these social programs and shit that make them feel good. And where does this money come from? Social programs? It is taken from other people or is printed out of thin air. When you have a problem like drug addicts in the street, a guy would look at this problem and say, yeah, we have a problem here, so let's go fix it. What we're going to do, we're going to build a building. We're going to take these drug addicts off the street, away from where they get their drugs. We're going to put them in this building, and we're going to break them of this addiction, plain and simple. It may suck for them for a little bit, but they'll come out with no addiction, and they can go back to be a productive member of society. Women will say, oh, that's not me. They won't feel good when they do that. So what do? They vote to build a building to hand out free needles to these addicts. So these addicts don't get cured. They can just continue injecting themselves, but they don't have to worry about getting a communicable disease because they're not sharing needles now. They don't solve the problem. They do what makes them feel good. And that is why society has gone to absolute shit, plain and simple. And I'm going to take this a step further. Women should not be able to vote flat out. And no one should be able to vote. Guys should not be able to vote unless they are 35 years of age, which gives them an opportunity to have lived a life in the real world and not just come out of high school or some, God forbid, fucking brain-rotting institution propaganda school of college or university, what they say in England or whatever, coming out thinking they know how the world actually works and voting along those lines when they have no real world experience. You have to be a bit of 35 years of age, and you have to be a tax-paying, productive member of society. You have to have a job, and you have to pay taxes. Those are the only ways you should be able to vote. The voters used to be landowners. And the reason that was because you have a stake in the game. When you actually have something to where bad policies can affect and ruin your shit, you're much more likely to vote in a way that is beneficial to society as a whole and not just what it benefits you. Everything needs to change, but we definitely need to repeal the 19th.
politics, that's patriarchal. But everything else, women run this shit, and we are the only ones that benefit. Even from marriage, women want to sit here and be like, why would I get married? I don't know. Maybe because the government has already decided what happens to his property in the case that you abuse him, cheat on him. Half of it's yours. Every time men point this out, women all...
Exactly. This is a gigantic problem that I have. I'm going to tell you, everybody here now, do not get married ever. There is no incentive for it. You are financially disincentivized as a guy to get married. Women make your life exponentially more expensive. It is always cheaper for a guy to live on his own than it is with a woman, plain and simple. And now, if you do get married, understand that everything is stacked in the woman's favor. You are, per statistics, you are like 60% likely that your marriage is going to end up in divorce. Okay, 6 out of 10 of all marriages end in divorce. And guess what? The laws are stacked in the women's favor. So the woman is going to get your shit, at least half of your shit. And if you have kids, she's going to get majority custody of those kids, unless she is so fucking bad that you can convince a judge otherwise. But it is stacked in the favor of the women in every way, form, and fashion. I would, if I were in some sort of office or power, I would have change it to, if you want to get married, you have to get a national marriage license. And the only way to do that is to have a prenup before you even attempt to get married. If anyone wants to get married, they have to go in, document exactly what they have at the beginning, and make sure that that the other people can't take it if something gets divorced. So if a guy comes in already having a house, that goes in their name. The cars they have goes in their name. This is what he had before we came to their marriage. If a chick comes in and she has a house, which she won't, but let's just say she does, it will be in her name. So when inevitably you end up getting divorced later on, a court cannot just come in and say, you're selling the house flat out and you're splitting it 50-50. No, he had the house beforehand. He gets the house. Plain and goddamn simple. Enough is enough. Oh, if you had a house beforehand and once you guys got married, you decide to trade up to a bigger house. Well, this is the way it normally works. When you sell a house, you take that money that you made from the smaller house and you put that towards the bigger house. So if you were to get divorced and that sort of situation happens, well, guess what? It's not just a 50-50 split. Whatever money that house sold for that was put onto that new house, that's the amount of money that if the woman keeps the house, she has to pay back to the man whose house he sold beforehand to buy that house. That would be the only way that we would have equality in this country. Feminism is all about quote unquote equality until it comes time to divorce and or actually having the same sort of jobs. So women, if you want equality, if you're a real feminist, put your fucking money where your mouth is and agree that everyone needs a prenup. The only incentive in getting married is for women, because they know that they can walk out of it. They can walk into a marriage with nothing and walk out of a marriage with everything. That shit needs to change.
Always go, well, men created the system. Oh, bitch, most men didn't create anything. They were born into it, just like women were. So no, patriarchy does not protect men. The only men it protects is the powerful men. But women won't get that around their head. They are too busy comparing the everyday man to the 1% man because they don't actually see men as human beings. That's when you...
And that's not patriarchy, what you're saying. That is societal hierarchy. That is the haves versus the have-nots. That's the way it always has been. This country was set up to not let that happen. But even so, the same people that have been doing this all throughout time wormed their way into the system to keep it controlled that way, to make sure that they still get to be in control of what they want. It is not patriarchy. It is haves versus have-nots. The everyday guy on the street is a have-not. Okay, the haves are a very small portion of the population. The have-nots make up the majority of it. And if the have-nots ever work together, they could easily stop the haves and make everything more efficient. But the average guy on the street is the guy that actually keeps society running. If those average guys decide that, hey, we're no longer doing work, the ones that on the oil rigs or the linemen or the any sort of plumbers, electricians, all that stuff. The people that actually keep the road working, sanitation workers, all that sort of shit, if they stopped and didn't stop working, society would collapse in like 3 days. Period. Because guys are the ones that make society run. If women, God forbid, ever tried to actually get a job, a real job, not just their bullshit jobs that they get coming out of college that they think this is how we're equals. We're going to get equal pay for jobs that don't actually have a tangible benefit, like HR. HR was only created when women came into the workforce. They had to have their feelings protected from all the mean men that they were going to have to work for with now. So they get this, and then they abuse that system too. They send guys to, sensitivity training, all that shit. Bitch, shut the fuck up and get the fuck out of the way and let the guys do the goddamn work. If you want society to run, let the guys do the work. Shut up. You don't contribute anything. If you were to actually try and do real jobs, there would be nuclear bombs falling and mushroom clouds everywhere, and everyone would die within 3 fucking weeks because women can't do it. They cannot function. They cannot keep society running. All they can do is nag about what guys are doing. But guys are not the problem. There is no patriarchy. It's a matriarchy, like I said.
Try to get them to care about men's issues, you always have to say, what if it was your brother? What if it was your dad? Yeah, what if we just see men as human beings for once? Hey, miss, I get no dick?
Yeah, imagine if you actually treated guys like normal people and accept the fact that they are doing their best. That's all it can come down to. Guys are doing their best, keeping the world going the way it is, and you are wanting to constantly change everything. But so that's all I got for today. This is Brothario. Let me know what you think. If what I said offended you, good. Good. If you did get offended, you understand what the deal is. But yeah, if you got offended, then understand that everything needs to be changed because you are the problem. But yeah, that's all I got for today. So like, comment, follow, what all the YouTube jargon. And I will check you guys later.
All right, check you later.